Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to nerd fight!
Step into the ring, it's time to brawl. Nerd fights, baby, we're geeking for all. Marvel, DC, Trek, and more. Pop culture battles, settle the score. Nerd fights, let's get loud. Nerd fights, yeah, for the geeky crowd. Nerd fights, hey, it's time to throw down. Bring your fandom, it's the hottest showdown. Who's got the takes? Who's got the heat? Mr. Know-It-All and Salty can't be beat.
We're talking about Dune Prophecy. What is that, like the third lesbian witch show this year?
Let's fight!
That means only one thing. It's time to fight.
Beat drops out with the final shot.
Nerd fights.
Let's fight!
Now you just got to work on getting our faces on those boxers.
I know. That's the next. That'll be the next move.
It's, of course, already a perfect representation of what our bodies look like.
I've thought so. Specimens, one might say.
Yes.
Specimens.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, man. Oh my God. Welcome to Nerd Fights. I am, of course, your host, Mr. Know-It-All. Joining me, as always, is the captain of the ship, Salty Trekker, as well as a plethora of people. And I think there's even somebody in the crowd tonight. Hey there, Danny. Always good to see you, brother. We absolutely love you. Can't wait to talk about the unification video, which we are going to get into that. But also, before that, we're going to talk about this brand new, all new crazy idea called a sci-fi about space witches. It's called Dune Prophecy. It actually is a really good version of what the storytelling can be when applied to some really good ideas. And I can't wait to talk about that too. But of course, before we get into all that, what's up, Salty? How's your week been, sir?
Well, it was, okay, to quote Star Trek, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
It feels appropriate today.
So I've been trying like heck to get my 3D printers working again. And I got my main printer that I have. I got it fired up, managed to get it so it was on, the bed would level, everything looked like it was good. So then I fed some filament into it so I could do a test print, and it wouldn't heat up. It would just like kept dying on me. So I did reach out to Creality, the company that makes the printer.
Oh yeah.
They're a Chinese company, but they're actually a fairly decent company, and they said that, because I would say I have bought from them over the years 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
They've done other machines other than this before, didn't they?
Oh yeah. So I
was going to say that sounds like the same company that does the not cry-cut machines, but they do other kinds of material. Whatever.
Yeah, but 3D printing is really where they made a name for themselves.
Copy.
Because the CR10 became legendary among DIY 3D printers back a few years back. And that was my first printer, was a CR10.
I'm actually looking to get one, so this is an interesting conversation to me. Not that anyone signed up for tech talk on Nerd Fights, but still, we definitely got to.
But yeah, so and they know this because they have their records. But I purchased a CR10 years ago. Then not 10 years ago, I purchased a CR10, years ago. And then I got an Ender 3, an Ender 3 version 2, a CR10 Max, which was a total waste of money. That printer sucked. And
tell me how you really feel.
Yeah. Well, and they know it because they stopped making it like just months after they released it. It was a big mistake. And then the Ender 5, which is my flagship printer, so to speak, of all the ones that I purchased. But
flagship?
Yes.
I love it.
And so I've been trying to get the Ender 5 working, and I've actually cannibalized parts from one of my Ender 3s and the CR10 to try and get everything in the Ender 5 working again. But it just, right now, the bed won't heat up, and the nozzle isn't heating up. And so talking to Creality, they said that, because I've been a good customer, they're going to send me some parts. So we'll see.
Nice.
So we'll see. I don't know when that's going to come, but but I'm excited about now that I'm feeling a little bit better with the, with the back and stuff, with the electronic.
I know, with your new cyber device.
Yes. I'm hoping
to
get more production stuff done.
Right on, man. Let's go. I'm down, brother. You know it.
And so, yeah, so look forward to a marble statue of you sometime in the future. Yeah, something like that.
You're gonna need a long lens. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And so yeah, it can only print so small. I mean, it's a,
Oh,
but
bro,
yes,
you have no idea. You're good. Sorry, Stanley's off in the comment section having a good old time.
yes. But anyway, so I'm hoping when they send me some parts, I'll be able to get it going, and then we'll talk about that when that happens. However, very frustrated because I actually got it up and running, and then nothing happened. So
I hate that. No, for real. Right on. So did you have it? You've seen the Dune,
I've seen the what?
the Dunes. You
The
saw
Dune?
Dune Part 1, Dune Part 2, the ones that
Oh,
are
the Dooms. I thought you said the Dooms. Like
the Dunes.
yes, of course. The Timothy Chalamet,
Yeah,
Zendaya Dune.
Yeah.
Yes, and I actually really really like them. These movies are absolutely up my alley as far as it's high concept sci-fi
Right.
that's not just about action, but when the action happens, it's good.
So the one thing I found when I was intrigued when I first found out that they were going to do a prequel series, one I don't know enough about this stuff to really know, because I was never a real Frank Herbert fan, but I was a fan of the movie, the cult '80s one. I thought it was very very punk for its time, and very metal, if you will. And then so when I got into later on, Sci-Fi Channel did like this long version.
Yeah, the Children of Dune or something.
And it was such a step above in how they presented it, that miniseries made me go read the original book finally. And so when I read the book, I was like, oh my God, the Sci-Fi Channel one was so much better than the one I had seen. And then I saw this one, the Denis Villeneuve ones, and I was like blown away by them. So
Right.
my whole thing was, how do you go back and tell a story that we care about, and stuff, because they've implied a lot of things in the story, and then we eventually do get there, which I thought was great.
Yeah, well, and the thing is that like the old the David Lynch Dune film,
Right.
That one, it really and I believe it was originally supposed to be split into multiple parts, and then the studio was like, nope, you got to do it in one film, and David Lynch was like, that's not even possible. But
Yeah, no, for real.
and
Because he knew the material.
right. And the problem is that movie is good, but if you don't know the story, it's very jarring at parts because
Agreed.
he has to kind of gloss over like what the Bene Gesserit are all about, and he has to
Or why they don't have thinking computers and why that's even a thing.
right.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, so since you opened up that can of worms,
Sure.
this is gonna be my one flame hot take thing that really pisses me off about Dune Prophecy, the show.
Okay.
I was so angry in the opening scenes of this show. They showed one of the most insanely cool shots from the war with the thinking machines.
Yes. I
But
love
we're
that.
never going to get the war with the thinking machines.
Agreed.
And so I was like, no, don't show me that and then not do that. That's what the series, I mean, I understand the Bene Gesserit are the focus of the series. Yeah, there you go. That's the shot right there. And I get that the Bene Gesserit are the focus of the series, but oh man, that looks so cool.
Yeah.
It might have been a mistake to do the Bene Gesserit as the, like you could have done the War with the Machines and the Bene Gesserit as two different shows, and who knows, maybe they will if this show is successful. But that looks so cool.
Yeah, I agree, and you're right. Man, that's a great idea. I think you're right. I think you're onto something. I think there's a world in which you could have absolutely done that first series of events because it's such a big story. I love what they're doing, by the way. First, out the gate. I'm not gonna say judgment, but thing that I noticed was this field felt very Game of Thrones in deep space.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved everything. And don't get me wrong, it's, I guess, something that's already gotten emperor and houses is already predisposed to feel like that. But this, seeing it on this scale because that's really what I felt. I felt scale from this whole storyline.
Right.
And I thought that was very cool because that's something that Game of Thrones always did well. Westeros felt like the world. And especially with the the opening, how it has the little cities and everything else, and you got to see like, wow, like there's a traveled world. Well, same thing with this. You hear about these houses and you hear the things, the machinations they're doing, and you see they name drop. There's an Atreides guy there. We find out that the mother lady is actually a Harkonnen, which I was like, what?
Yeah, I didn't know that. So,
yeah, and so it's very, very interesting the way they're setting some things up, which I thought was cool.
Well, and I have to say, of all the 2024 series that are prequels to mainstream sci-fi shows that focus on a clan of covert space witches living on a planet isolated from the empire at large, trying to raise an acolyte specifically to come to power, this one is definitely my favorite.
I hate you so much.
Did you notice they
Oh,
used,
totally.
they
Of
used
course.
the word acolyte twice in this first episode?
Oh my god, yeah, no, it's
Just one time more than they used it in the entirety of the Acolyte series.
I agree.
So, I think the only time that they said acolyte was when Darth Mopey was saying that, he wanted more than just an apprentice, he wanted an acolyte, and I think that was the only time it was said.
Stan coming to the defense of the Harkonnens, as he is want to do. The Harkonnens weren't bad; they just got a bad rap in the history books.
That is actually exactly what they say in the show.
Like this is Alex's take from during the. I'm just curious. Go on. I'm sorry. Go on.
Or Thomas Potts.
Or Thomas Potts. Totally, Thomas. I can totally see that being his thing.
No, in fact, but that's what I say, Stan, is that's exactly what they say in this, is that the Harkonnens, and I hate calling them Harkonnens because to me it's always Harkonnen from
that's how
the Lynch show. But the Harkonnens are, by the way, though, I will say this. I've never read the book Dune, but then I picked up the book on Audible, and the recording of this book dates back to like the 60s from the old book on tapes kind of days. And the recording says Harkonnen. So, okay.
That's that William Shatner, the animated series stuff.
Right.
Where, you know what I mean? The guy's like, nobody's going to tell me how to say this. I'm recording in Harkonnen. We're moving on.
Yeah.
The
Orions are coming. They're going to take our Quinto Triticale.
So Stanley says, though I'm not quite sure why these houses would just allow a Bene Gesserit agent into their inner circles. I don't know that it's a Bene Gesserit agent as much as they're selling themselves, because they're not. It's just like Ben One I said a minute ago. They never say the word Bene Gesserit. That's not who they are yet.
Right. They're just a sisterhood right now.
That's a sisterhood of truth sayers or truth seekers or something.
Sayers.
Right. Truth sayers. So they're invaluable when it comes as a negotiating tool. And if you're going to have one at one house, you got to have them at all the houses. Thus, they made themselves indispensable really fast.
Which is kind of interesting, and that's one of the problems with the David Lynch movie, is that, like, in the David Lynch movie, you had one of the navigators come to meet the Emperor, and he immediately tells him to make the witch leave. And you don't know why, other than, okay, he doesn't like witches.
Right.
So because there's nothing about the whole truth sayer thing. And you don't realize that these people have made themselves so indispensable just by being the people that are like walking, talking lie detectors. And also, I do like that thing. Something that was in the recent films that they continued here is that the sisterhood has their own special sign language that only they.
I loved that.
And so they can communicate to each other covertly, even in an open room full of people. But that because that whole thing about while, and I thought it was kind of interesting. So while the emperor is negotiating over the marriage rights of his daughter, at the same time, the two Bene Gesserit in the room are talking to each other about what their ultimate plan is. Mm-hmm. And
Yep.
so, and so
Because
I
he's
like,
asking, he's asking, is this a good? He's asking her flat out, like, is this a good choice? Is this whatever? And the other girl's literally telling her, listen, we have to do this, this, and this. So it's very, like you said, it's very. They're supposed to be for their houses, and they're not. They're for themselves,
right.
which is very clear from the very beginning. It's funny because it actually, and it's I brought her up in the thing here. This is actually the lady who started the everything during. Apparently, she was
Right.
part
She
of
is the first Bene
Right.
Gesserit, if you will.
Right. And she was part of the original, like during the war against. She was part of the people there who like with truth sayers and the whole bit. Like she's part of a specific group of people, and then broke off and started doing their own thing. She believes straight up that they're supposed to be us like leading the way of mankind, whereas other of them are just zealots. Zealots mean they're just they're like pious nuns almost,
Right.
and so and who are just like we need to usher through peace and all this other stuff. And the other girl's like, no, we need to like be more proactive because we know the future. And so it's really the argument of the whole series. I think is going to start boiling down to two ideologies, and you learn that moving forward. Spoilers, of course, because we're talking about this thing. You learn that in the end when there's a guy that shows up who I believe firmly he knows the deep dish about the Bene Gesserit, what's going to be the Bene Gesserit, the sisterhood, and he's anti them. So this whole through line is very much.
The prince.
I believe this whole thing is going to be the event that sets them on course for being the Bene Gesserit true. We're watching the villain origin story of the Bene Gesserit.
Well, that's what I say. This is the acolyte done right.
Agreed.
This is
and that is exactly where I feel like you have to come with this.
Right, and by the way, so I do want to answer Ben. How do we know what they're saying if it's sign language? Because they do put subtitles on the screen to tell you what they're saying to each other. Because it is a completely BS sign language. It's something they made up for the movies in this show. But the idea here of the covert space witches, who the leaders may or may not be lesbians, the way they kind of talk to each other.
No, okay. To be fair, I'm going to take full responsibility for the title. It's very clickbaity, but it's also like, and it's on purpose. We're poking fun because once you look at all the comparisons, you can't not poke fun. Because it's such a vastly that, as far as I'm concerned, they better be lesbians because that's the only thing you need to slip in to make it perfect.
Yes.
Like for this thing to have worked, to be able to say fully, here's how you could have done it. I need them to be lesbians because I need everything that they tried to do with Acolyte to be done right somewhere.
I would laugh hysterically if we do find out that the what do they call the Reverend Mother, if she and that other woman that we're talking, if they are lesbians. I will absolutely die laughing at that because it doesn't ruin the show for me or anything. I'll just think it's funny because this is the Acolyte done right.
And you just want to be like, look how much we could all love this had you just done it right. You know what I'm saying?
The interesting thing is that so they need the gonna be Bene Gesserit, the sisterhood.
Yeah.
They believe that they are the ones that can actually make sure that the empire is successful over the long term.
Right.
And so they're not thinking evil plans. They're thinking how to preserve humanity.
Right.
And the only way for them to really enact their plan is to put a woman on the throne that's one of them. So the interesting thing is what we're seeing here are the seeds as to why Paul Atreides is so important 10,000 years down the road, because obviously they're going to fail. And over the next 10,000 years, they're going to try probably repeatedly to get a woman on the throne. But because of the patriarchy, and I'm not saying that as a derogatory term, it's just the way that royal families work.
Yeah.
Because of the patriarchy of the royal family, they can't get a woman to be you know, unless they get lucky and they end up with a Queen Elizabeth where the woman lives for 300 years, and you know, after the guy dies, they're never going to have a woman in power.
Right. So
And,
I brought up this one scene just because it's a really wonderful. It's such a great picture
the
of
first
how.
use of the voice.
Yeah, when the weirding word, and it's because she's developed it, and you're like, oh my god, we're at the like literally the beginning of a lot of their quote unquote powers.
Right.
Like even later on, I believe that the thing that they use to burn certain people, because I want to wait to that part. I think that is actually an offshoot of what eventually becomes either not the gum jabar, but that test that burns your hand.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to see that.
Some evolution of that thing. Again, a lot of cool stuff if you're into the lore and myth of Dune that they're making very attainable. Like I understood a lot of this stuff, and I didn't think I was going to.
And yes, Thomas, this is a direct prequel to the Dune movies that have just come out.
Yeah,
in fact, you do see Sandworm in this first episode, and they look identical to what they look like in the Dune movies.
Yep.
So the by the way, I'm curious, and because have you read any of the other books in the Dune series?
Me?
Yeah.
A long time ago, Frank Herbert's son finished one.
Right. But I mean, there's like several books.
Yeah, there's Dune Part 2, Revenge of Dune, Son of Dune. I don't know, whatever. You get the idea.
Yeah, the Rise of Dune.
Yeah, exactly. Empire Strikes Dune. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But there's a lot of stuff going. But this is like 10,000 years before, and what I love is
I'm wondering if they ever covered that time period, because I know that the books, if I remember correctly, I think the books did cover the war with the machines.
yes, in flashback form. Like I don't think we actually live there with characters we care about, but they tell you stories through visions and stuff that they've had. Bride of Dune, more Dune. Thank you, Stanley.
Yeah.
Feel free to comment, you guys below. What are your Dune sequels called?
Dune 2, The Wrath of the Worm.
Yes. Oh
Dune 3, the Search for Sand.
Thomas Potts says the Dune Awakens.
Yeah.
Nice, bro. Oh my god.
Dune Harder.
That's right. Live free or Dune. No, I got it. That was bad. I'm sorry. That was bad. I'm gone.
But yeah, I would really, really like to see. I mean, man, just that. I know I sound like I'm a broken record, but I really want to see a show about that war. That looks so interesting.
It did look good. The funny part is, and this is a real obscure thing, when the first time I saw some of those guys, I was like, don't those things look like the robot from the really bad Lost in Space movie?
They kind of did, yeah.
He's on like wheels and it had the glowing upper part and the arm things, and I'm like,
yes, Dunes, of course, Stan. Yes,
the Rings of Dune. Thomas, I love that. No, Stanley's totally right. He's like, but wasn't that basically just like Terminator? Kind of. But these looked a little cooler. I don't know.
Right, and we could see, but the thing is that like the war with the machines is the very reason why the tech, even though this Dune takes place tens of thousands of years in the future, the tech seems so retro. The reason is because computers do not exist in this world. And so imagine technology improving, but we remove everything digital.
Yeah, and that's the reason why they have to have navigators, which are spice altered.
Right, but everything is analog in this world.
Right, but they have to they have to use space magic to try. Oh my god, they have to use the Force. Only it's rechargeable. You know what I'm saying? It's like, see, again, a lot of cues can be taken from them. All I'm saying, Lucasfilm can learn.
As long as they don't make the last Dune, directed by Rian Johnson, but the do they do have computers where they're like 80? Well, yeah. What I was saying is they don't have. Well, I should say they don't have any form of AI.
No. There's nothing simpler than a yes/no prompt. It's nothing more advanced, rather.
Like they have basic databases.
Information.
But they don't have computers that actually do anything proactively. Which I dig the idea, But I think it would be, like, while the Bene Gesserit, the origin of the Bene Gesserit is certainly an interesting thing to cover.
You're still stuck on. He's like,
I
show
think
me this war, man.
Well, I want to see the rise of the machines, which is another Dune sequel. Dune was it Dune 3, the rise of the machines or something. But I want to see the rise of the machines and the war with the machines and the establishment of why computers are banned. Like the fact that everybody freaked out when the kid had a thinking machine toy. Which understandably, but that means that, does that mean that house is like secretly using, thinking machines?
That could be the kind of thing that starts that kind of a thought process. Like people start thinking that, and then that's why when Chicky went to the little kid and she says to him, "You do that nonsense again," she's like, "I'll kill you myself," or whatever.
She said once the marriage goes through, because she wants to kill him
so much.
She and for good reason.
She could have her Atreides boyfriend on the side.
Yeah. But if she
side dish. Yeah.
But if she marries him and then kills him, she gets the throne. So I think that's probably part of their plan, is that, and depending on how long this series runs, we may see, and I don't know if they're planning on going season after season after season like Game of Thrones.
Well, they got 10,000 years. They can go as much as they want. Informant Ben One said spoilers, but someone I watch on YouTube said we might be getting more flashbacks in the following episodes. I'm down for, dude. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm down for.
Cool.
Yeah.
Way to go, Ben. I want to see it. I want to see what happened, how the machines became such a problem. I'd like to see the establishment of the Empire in the first place. Because if we're going to explore areas that Frank Herbert did not write, then let's go balls deep here. Let's explore the rise of the Empire, the development of some of this technology, the rise of the machines, and the near collapse of the Empire, and then now, of course, and the rise of the Bene Gesserit, as far as why, because this would explain why they're so important. Not to mention the Mentats. Right?
I was like, when are we going to get some of that?
Yeah. Because it's been a while since the war with the machines, so you would think that the Mentats would already be around, but we don't, who knows? It could be that, we're going to see their origin in this as well. Because the nice thing is they put us in a time frame that's unexplored, so.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Yes, Stan, because that's one of the sequels, of course. It's Dune 5, Balls
Deep. Yes. Yes, it is. And Stan, you also have inadvertently almost won, so good job. Stan gets everywhere. That's my new favorite quote of today.
Yes.
Right on.
We need to get Anakin Skywalker in there.
Just saying, yeah. I'm going to set up a little bank of memes. We can just hit them and gut them and go. Almost like when you're in the bowling alley and you get a score and it suddenly plays an animation you have to sit through. That's going to be our show soon. It's just animated responses to things. Whatever. I should get Creep on the job of editing some of that stuff, because Lord knows Creep's quick. You got to admit.
Yeah. So Mark Strong, loved seeing him. I didn't know he was in this.
Oh, dude, I know. He was so good.
And yeah, and I know that people like Nerdrotic thought it was a waste of his talent, but I honestly think that people that are dissing this show, look, I don't know. I don't get the woke police thing anymore. I really don't, because this show, yes, it's about the Bene Gesserit, but have you read the books? Do you know anything about the lore of Dune? The Bene Gesserit are the driving force in the whole saga, and Paul Atreides is the first male Bene Gesserit, so to speak, and that's why he's the knick-knack paddywhack, or whatever they call it. I can never remember what he was called.
The knick-knack paddywhack. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. I like that. That's the answer from now on.
Yeah. But this is 10,000 years. BP.
Yes, he was Stanley. He was in Penguin. Also, he played Falcone.
Yeah, Mark Strong. Yeah, for about 10 seconds.
Yeah,
in
2 flashbacks.
Yeah,
and then it was a double for the far away that you could barely tell who it is. You're like, that's not him. They didn't waste him to stand over there 14 feet away or whatever.
Right. So yeah, for the woke police to freak out about it, it's like, look, Dune is classic.
Ben One Eye said it really well. Dune
Yeah.
is a very feminist setting, y'all.
It kind of is, but it also isn't. That's the thing, is that because if Dune was 100%, woke, on the message, as some people would say, then Paul Atreides wouldn't be the central character.
No, not at all.
They would make it. And in fact, some people thought it was going to be like Zendaya was going to take over or something. But she's still stuck on Dune.
I heard that story.
Yeah, but at the end of the second movie, Paul's ruling the universe while Zendaya is stuck riding a worm on the planet.
And really not happy with the way things have gone.
Yeah. So riding the worm could be a euphemism for something, but
good.
Yeah. Just saying. If you say, "Hey, babe, you want to ride the worm?" I think she'll know what you're talking about.
I think you're correct, sir.
Yeah. But no riding the worm yet in this. We only got, it's kind of funny that everything is called Dune, but so far, Dune, Arrakis, the planet, is barely in it.
Agreed.
And from the looks of it, is not going to be a centerpiece of this whole series, because the series isn't about Arrakis, even though eventually all roads lead to Arrakis.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Heck yeah, all roads are eventually going to lead to Arrakis.
Yeah.
And they're already, I feel like that's, because remember, that's where Dude comes from. The guy, matter of fact, hold on a second. Let me scroll over here to him further in. Oh my God, I got rid of my interface and I can't, now I'm trying to figure out how to get through. Oh, here we go. Oh my God, that's so much better. Where's he at? I want to find him real quick. There he is.
Yeah.
There's our boy.
Yeah, what I called not Channing Tatum.
No kidding. He shows up, and when he shows up, I was like, I'm gonna get this right. Everybody was destroyed from a giant worm thing, and you survived. Well, you're dirty. I mean, that's all I know. I'm sorry. There's no way you're not. Or look at him. He even looks smarmy and like, I'm gonna get in your head. Like it's bad.
But is it that he's dirty, or is it that he's in with the Fremen, and so
Well, we get to see at least two Fremen sisters, or at least two Fremen females. Anyway, one of them is a sister.
Yeah, I think this guy is the bastardized love child of Jason Momoa and Channing Tatum. Somehow they figured out a way to turn two sperm into another human being, and that's what they got.
Wow. I don't even know what to do with that, man. Right on.
Yeah. But I find there, the funny thing is that I really had a problem with Game of Thrones. Because obviously you already said it a couple of times, but I know a lot of people are going to draw the comparison because you have the great houses, you have political intrigue, you have all this stuff going on that makes it a direct comparison to Game of Thrones. But to me, just on the first episode, this show is way more interesting to me than Game of Thrones.
Okay.
The problem I have with Game of Thrones is the only character I could even get into. And now I can't even remember the guy played by Sean Bean. He was the head of the good house, so to speak.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And then he ends up getting decapitated at the end of season 1, and I was like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah, it was Sean Bean.
Yeah, Sean Bean. But yeah, he, and which of course I know Sean Bean, you should have known he was going to die because it's Sean Bean. But at the same time, they kill off the one character that I thought was interesting. So I never watched Game of Thrones beyond season 1. And not to mention the fact that, I'm sorry, but I had a tough time when the first episode features, brother and sister getting it on. That I was just,
bro.
Talk
about jumping you in, dude. Yeah. Same. I went in blind, never heard of a thing. Didn't even know what Game of Thrones was.
Yeah, I had no idea that was coming.
All of a sudden, I'm with you. I'm like, I swear, for me, I think it was something like, I'm gonna get my drink real quick. I think, oh,
yeah.
aren't these okay?
and then they get caught, so they throw the kid out the window.
I'm like,
Yeah, I was like,
this is
no,
the kind
no,
of
no.
show it is.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So, but this show, I'm interested in almost every character, as far as I don't, I'm not sure who's good and who's bad. You know,
The scene I have highlighted right now, this is when he's talking, Mark Strong's talking to his wife, and
Yes.
his wife is pointing out acutely that he has been changing the more and more and more, the closer he's gotten to the Bene Gesserit truth lady. And like, she's like, does this marriage make sense to you? And he's like, well, I don't know. I mean, it's for he repeats, I guess, the line.
the ships.
Yeah. And it's like, but he repeats like as a line she's heard very well politically put together.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, what are you going to do? And it's so, I love her because she's talking so much reason. And in that moment, I was like, slap him, just slap him.
Yeah.
She's dead right. She's like, nothing about this makes sense. So yeah, it was just, again, the characters in the world are very vibrant. That's for sure.
Yeah. And they're all interesting because it seems like, and this is, and actually, I'll tell you, not to get too real world on you, but in some ways, it kind of reminds me of the problems of modern day politics in that, look, the Democrats aren't evil and neither are the Republicans. They just have different ideas on how to make the country better. And
How to make the country great again?
No, I didn't.
I'm sorry, go on. I couldn't resist. The joke was there. Go on.
But I mean, in fact, I actually, it's something I really appreciated from the first episode of Strange New Worlds, where Pike described World War III as being the result of people disagreeing on how to make things better, basically, on I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but something basically that these are just, they're competing ideologies. It's not good versus evil,
Well, when it comes to good versus evil, Thomas believes people who support the triple timeline are in fact evil. I reserve judgment.
Yeah, well,
as you were, sir.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now. And Thomas threw me off. The there's the triple timeline. I am still working on that, but it has a new name. Yes. I didn't. I figured I'd unveil that right now. It's Proof of the Triple Timeline System, or POTS.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it, sir.
Yeah. Because I figured that, POTS would really love the triple timeline theory. Anyway, but yeah, so going back to this, I can see why, from the Emperor's perspective, he needs the ships in order to control Dune. But the Bene Gesserit are just trying to get that kid in as the new emperor because he's not of age, and that would mean that his future wife, who's already going to be an acolyte, hence the name acolyte, in their system, and so that means that they can get a Bene Gesserit on the throne. Or a sisterhood or whatever they call it.
Sure. No, exactly what they're trying to do.
Lesbian space witch.
Well, and that's always been their goal too.
Right.
Like their goal was their breeding program that they create later on, which eventually gives you Paul, is not. That's this. That's the beginning of this.
Right.
This rather is the beginning of that.
They need to take over.
But then Jessica screwed them by wanting her to give her husband what he wanted, which was a son. And so when she did, she figured, what could having a male Bene Gesserit, a male who does what we do, hurt? It couldn't. And because she was stupid and didn't think. But anyway, instead she was creating a monster.
Yeah, and so I'm really intrigued by, and of course now, and you have the other side of it, so the kid had the thinking machine, which means that he had to have gotten that somehow. And so it's not, so obviously there are thinking machines out there. Does that mean we're going to get some thinking machine combat, which I'm totally down for? And I'm wondering if
that could be, if somebody ends up using it, I bet, as to almost like remember that wonderful, spectacular Judge Dredd movie with Stallone? How they had the old robot. But remember how they had the old robot in a pawn shop?
Yeah.
In this era, I could see that, like collectors having old, worn out thinking machine, and people like, oh, well, then they try to turn it as a weapon.
Well, and the thing is that the guy that's the leader of that house, it's obviously not one of the great houses,
Right.
but he's trying to improve his house's standing by getting his son married into the as he'll be the heir to the throne. So you can't get much better than that. But he even comments about how the minor houses are not benefiting from the mining of Arrakis and stuff like that.
Right.
And so he's basically setting up a case for why he might have thinking machines in his house, or and this is the other where I was thinking it might be going. What if this is the guy that creates the first mentats by putting thinking machines into people?
Oh, that's an interesting approach. I would be interested to see if they can do that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about the mentats, and that's the thing that, like I said, I really hope they explore this a little bit, because the mentats are supposedly living computers. They are Wi-Fi enabled because they can communicate with each other.
Yeah.
You know, but they're the only
Wi-Fi
type of
enabled.
yeah, they're the only type of thinking technology allowed. And so
Because
basically,
it's inside of a person who still has control of it.
yeah. So by Paul Atreides' time, every house has got to have a Bene Gesserit sitting in their court and a mentat.
Agreed.
And so that's why. But of course, unfortunately, like in the David Lynch movie, the mentats were he was just kind of a freak, you know. So
Yeah.
you know,
Easy, creep, easy.
yeah. So the thinking machines balls deep into people. Yes, that's not exactly how I phrased it, but
No, it's not.
you know, maybe ball bearings deep since
Nice.
That's
great.
machines.
Ah.
But yeah, I am absolutely digging where they're going with this. I am hooked on the show. They got me.
Because apparently you can't start a Game of Thrones analog without killing or bringing some harm to a child. The young child who's suitor for the queen. So the emperor makes the mistake of saying in front of the zealot guy, I just wish this would all go away, but I can't, but there's obviously be too much whatever.
Oh yeah.
And the dude, the minute he's looking at it, he's like, he's doing this look on his face, and I'm like,
I get you.
He's gonna do something. He's gonna do something.
Yeah.
And sure enough, you see him walk out, and then, oh my gosh.
And this is where I see the Bene Gesserit trying to figure out, okay, so how can we do this now?
Right. Because somehow the kid is immolated with very little flame.
Yeah. Is he even still alive at the end of the episode?
I don't think so.
So yeah. So if the kid is dead, then obviously their initial plan is out the window.
Right. But
they still have the daughter of the emperor coming to join their lesbian space witch order. And
right.
So if with that happening, if they can figure out another appropriate suitor or assassinate whoever, because they can't assassinate Mark Strom's emperor, because his wife is not a Bene Gesserit.
Right.
However, once the daughter is married, they can, because so I think Mark Strom's days are numbered.
Oh yeah, dude. No, I'm like, come on.
That girl is married, he's a dead man. You know,
I feel like I'm like they're not. Mark Strong's not staying for this whole thing.
Yeah. They should have just cast Sean Bean in the role. That would have been.
That's Debbie telegraphing.
Well, I'm just saying.
That's funny. But then, so you get to the end of this episode, and they've set up a really, really interesting scenario, because what's her face is she's hell-bent, the new queen mother lady, she's hell-bent on keeping things the way they are, and almost the opposite extreme of the gal she did the weirding word to,
right,
who wanted to go too far it was very, very left and right argument, so to speak. And so she was so now become extreme that she can't see, to her everyone else has got to be wrong.
Right.
And it's like she can't even think like and even her friend tries to call her out on it. Is like you realize like you have to be flexible somewhere. You can't. There's no. And she's like, no, we don't. Or the fate of everything is at stake. And you're like, you hear the gravity of this. You're like, wow, like they're really into their mission.
Well, and that's the thing. If she's a true believer that these lesbian space witches must take power,
Agreed.
and and in order to maintain the lesbian space witch power, they have to control the genetics. Then, that's why she feels that way. But the other woman is just kind of thinking this is unethical.
Yeah.
And we're manipulating all the houses. We're trying to basically take power that's not ours to take. And so I get the ethical argument, but at the same time, if the not yet Benny Gesserit, see that rhymes just like the knick knack paddywhack.
It's right.
The not yet Gesserits are the if they are necessary to maintain the empire, then this comes back to one of those freedom versus security kind of arguments.
Yeah.
I
see that makes sense.
Which obviously there are there are extremists on both sides that think that security is so important, freedom can be curtailed completely. That's where you have like your Dr. Dooms, and then you have no, freedom must be absolute, and there's no room for imposing on it no matter what, and you get the like just total anarchists.
Right.
And so neither of them are correct. I think that that there has to be some kind of balance.
I agree with that. No, I totally agree. But at the same time, because the other thing I thought was interesting was we also learned that at this stage, only the great houses are benefiting from spice trade.
Right.
Nobody else. So that's
why there's raiders stealing spice.
But in the future, that's not the case. In the future, it's a little bit more open, free market system when it comes to it.
My understanding, there are still spice pirates out there.
Sure.
And so
I just thought it was interesting. It feels like right now it's almost like we're in a feudal version of what will become, and I guess that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And like they're just now setting up and establishing.
It is not the Quizak Hatterack. It is the knick-knack paddywhack.
That's right.
Yeah, you got to get it right.
Wasn't there
how many houses are there? I don't know, Creep. I've not read all the books, so.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't either.
Yeah. But obviously, there's more than just the three that are the main topic of the Dune films.
Yeah.
Which are I can't remember the name of the house of the Imperium itself, and then you have the Atreides and the Harkonnens.
Oh my God. The one that what's his name is that Christopher Walken was just now. Oh, Padishah Emperor.
Yeah. So is that the House of Padishah?
I'm fairly sure.
No, it's Carino.
House Carino?
Yeah. There are 8 great houses in addition to the 3 main houses. So the 3 main houses are the Carinos, Atreides, and Harkonnens. And then
if that's the case, I have a show I want to send you to go watch. You'll see when witches were a problem.
But they didn't have lesbian space witches that ended up. Well, you see, Thomas was on the side of the Sith, so he probably is like.
No, right on.
Yeah.
If it's 10,000 years earlier, they used spice back then to travel. Yes, creep.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me get here.
The spice melange.
Yeah.
It's a fun word to say.
So
Mrs. Know-It-All sent me a text. She goes, again with the lesbians.
Well, it's...
And that's the voice I had to give her for it, because that's exactly how I heard it in my head.
Let's see. Yeah, so the Dune films take place in the year 10,191 AG. And keep in mind,
After Godzilla.
no, it's after Guild.
After guilt, they're Catholics.
So the Spice Guild. Now they do say that and which means that the guild was established. I'm just looking up on online here. The guild was established some 10,000 years after humans left our solar system.
Right.
So we're talking 20,000 years after humans left the solar system is when the Dune films take place. That's a long time in the future.
So they're not even around Earth. Like Earth isn't even a thing anymore.
Well, Earth is a thing, but it's not the center of the empire.
Oh my God, I love you, Ben. Ben One Eye. They are Catholic. They have a book called the Orange Catholic Bible. Right
They
on,
do
man.
actually, yeah. So that's true.
Right on, Ben. He's absolutely correct.
Yeah. So that means that based on the timeline that they kind of established, if this show takes place exactly 10,000 years after or before Dune, then that means that the Spice Guild as we know it was established about 190 years prior to this series.
Oh wow. Okay, so this is okay. Wow.
Okay, so
Oh shoot! You almost could have gone and give us that origin story.
yeah, so there's
I
another
feel like
one.
they picked something very centralized where there's interesting stuff in both directions.
Yeah.
Right on.
So there's a lot that they can cover because there's so much history, and that's the thing. So and that's why we don't see a big technological change, even though it's 10,000 years difference, because technology has reached an apex at the point of the living machines. At that point, technology went as far as technology can go.
It's fair.
And so what we see now is humanity post technological development, because there's no more technology to develop.
He-Man.
He-Man?
We're in He-Man, where there's technology and now we're magic. It's like at some point or another, they had enough technology to build half the nonsense they have there.
Yeah.
There was technology, so then at some point they either hit an apex and we're like, all that's left is for us to start dabbling in magic. Let's go.
Right.
Like seriously, I feel like that's where they are. It's like now they're like the Bene Gesserit are learning how to alter their minds and how to do other you're moving in a direction of some form of evolution. The Spice Melange is doing it to the Navigators, who themselves are becoming more alien than anything. It's like, and then of course eventually it does the same thing to Paul and all of them down the road.
Which, by the way, I know we never go into rabbit holes here, but you just made me think of one.
Never.
Yes, you like Corridor Digital, right?
Yeah, of course. I love those guys.
Yeah. So they did a thing where they were they're a parody of Shark Tank, where they
really?
Yeah, it's really funny. You should look it up. They did like 3 or 4 editions of it.
Okay.
Where the pitch was these people would come in specifically to develop toys or children's products, but they also had to be slightly offensive.
Jeez.
And so, and one of the rules was before they gave their pitch, they had to talk about some of their prior successes. And so one of the guys comes out, and his prior success was the development of one of the most inclusive toys ever made. Everybody knows about He-Man, so he created They Man.
I hate you so much.
And then he pops up a picture, and it's He-Man with boobs.
Wow.
So,
Just wow. I can't even, every time we're going to have to keep restarting the show. That's all I know.
yeah.
Oh my God. But okay, so ultimately, I'm excited for where I think they're going to go with this. It's supposedly it's about this time period.
Do you know how many episodes this is going to be?
I think it's only 6, maybe 8, but I think it's only 6.
See, that sucks.
Because that means they're telling a punchy story. Because there was a lot here.
Yeah,
this is a meaty hour and 6 minutes.
Like this could easily be a 20 episode season.
There was so much exposition. I know they have to really quickly establish the world they're in, but man, it felt exposition heavy. Because like everything felt like a brief explanation of where we are in time, and you're like, was that more information than we needed?
I don't think it was though. That's the thing. Is
No,
that
I know, I got you. I agree. I do agree, but it just felt like we were getting a lot of information fast.
and I don't mind a lot of exposition if the exposition is interesting, and it certainly was interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, what I don't like is boring exposition that's just necessary in order to, tell us about why the mad bomber is mad, and I don't care. Just, if I'm watching the Mad Bomber show, just give me the action, please. You know, I don't need,
the Mad Bomber, just please show up. That's all I want right now.
I don't need to know about how he was abused as a child or, whatever. Just blow some stuff up.
Are we talking about what are we Thomas? Are we talking about who here in Dune? Doubtful. I doubt it.
Right. No, the navigators, kind of look like the tardigrades in the David Lynch version. Did we ever see any navigators in the new films? I'm trying to remember.
I don't. Yes, we did.
What did they look like? I don't remember.
They look like aliens. I think that slightly. They were. I thought they were the pale. Weren't they the pale guys in the? Remember at one point he's yelling at somebody. The Harkonnen guy is. I thought it was a pilot or a navigator or someone. One of his person from his. Maybe it wasn't. I thought he was the guy with connected by all the cables to the main computer thing. I don't know. Whatever.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if. Yeah, that's the because all the images I see of Navigator are either artistic renderings or the Navigator from the David Lynch film.
Right on.
I'm not seeing. Yeah, I did not say this. I am not here. So yeah, I don't know that we've seen a Navigator in the modern Dune. Because there's an article here. Yeah, that. Yeah, I don't think we've seen one. We don't know exactly what they look like, but at least if we go by the David Lynch version, they look kind of like tardigrades.
True story, sir.
So you could say maybe Discovery was just somebody smoked a little too much weed while watching the David Lynch Dune movie.
That's hilarious.
Because
with you, sir. Right on, man.
Tardigrade, organic substance, breathes it in, navigates the ship across the galaxy.
It sounds awfully. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, because essentially that's what spice is. Spice is worm poop.
Yes. So we just replaced magic mushrooms with magic worm poop.
It's the nutrients that gets absorbed into the ground and becomes the thing. It's like fertilizer.
Yeah,
it's legit. Like they fertilize it, and what the end result?
It's like licking a frog. It's just worms, dried up worm slime.
Sorry. Right on. So yeah, that was the. But what did you think? What are you looking forward to the rest of the season?
I am absolutely looking forward to the rest of the season. If this show continues at this level of intrigue and production, and they stick the landing, then Penguin will no longer be my favorite series of the year. And that's how good this is.
That's fair. No, it's totally fair.
And I love Penguin, so yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing where they go.
Right on, brother.
And Darren is very impatient.
What do you say?
Let's move it along.
Oh, I know. I know exactly what he wants. He definitely wants us to talk about this.
What, the short film?
Yeah.
So a couple of days ago, the YouTube channel Flickr, however you say that, released a 10-minute short film starring Deepfake William Shatner,
dang, not Deepfake William
Shatner, and Robin Curtis.
Not Deepfake William Shatner.
Yeah, that's so let me talk about. So do you have that copy of the script handy?
Hold on. I do. It's on my phone
We need to talk about that.
Okay.
But while you're digging that up, I want to tell you. So my ethical position on the deep fake.
Hold on. No. Wait.
No,
Before we get into any
you're
of
gonna like that.
hold on. Before we get into any of this,
Okay.
I need something made abundantly clear. I see this beautiful, wonderful thing that makes me feel things and makes me excited, and I'm like, wow, it's crazy. And I send it to my best friends in the world who I know dig Star Trek as much as I do. I'm like, we're gonna have this is gonna be a moment. We're gonna talk about it. First words out the gate: do they have the right to do this? Who got permission? Was this that? Wasn't there a whole thing about the end of? Didn't we have an AI strike about this whole thing? And I'm like, talk about sucking the air out of the room for a moment. I was like,
Well, I so
Who
want
hurt
to tell
you?
you, I've given it some thought. As far as now, first of all, let me and yes, Darren, I'm well aware that William Shatner was an executive producer. So they gave William Shatner a paycheck to use his image, and that's fine. The estate of Leonard Nimoy was fine with it. That's fine. And also, I can't remember the actor's name. Forgive me, but the guy that played Gary Mitchell was also listed in the credits, so he got a paycheck as well. So, all the deep fake stuff. I'm not saying they crossed an ethical line where they were using people without permission or anything like that. Zero complaints there. Further, I will say this, and this is where I've kind of come to my conclusion on the use of fake versions of classic characters and people who have expired.
Sure.
So obviously, Paramount owns James T. Kirk. Paramount Paramount owns Spock. Paramount owns Gary Mitchell. Right. Those are the three main deepfake characters in this. And because the Lieutenant Colt, I believe, was just a lookalike. It wasn't a deepfake. But and yes, Darren, you don't need to argue things like that because I just said.
By the way, Darren, I was like missling things the second more information was coming out.
Yeah.
I was sending it to him, not to be crappy, not to nerd fight, but to just generally be like, look here, okay, can you enjoy it finally?
No. Here's my thing.
You're mudging. I was like,
right. So obviously Paramount owns Captain Kirk, owns Spock, owns Gary Mitchell. So if they want to, as an official sanctioned Paramount production, which this is, if they want to revive or what's the word I'm looking for?
Revamp, revive,
bring back whatever these characters, even though like William Shatner's 93 years old, he doesn't look like even old Kirk anymore. He's he looks great for a 93-year-old.
Absolutely,
but he doesn't look like he looked in Generations. Obviously Leonard Nimoy's passed away, and the guy that played Gary Mitchell, I don't even know what he looks like because I couldn't find a current picture.
Did anybody else know? I keep hearing I should probably watch all these because there's a bunch of shorts that they've done like together. What's the story between Gary Mitchell and being? I mean, I know this. I know the character. I know from
right. It's in the script, but it's not. But it's not in the final version. That's the problem. And but as far as the story, we'll get into that in a minute. I don't get me wrong. Does it bring the feels? Absolutely. But to me, that's all it brings. And that's a problem. But I want to finish my little tirade about the ethics of it.
Go for it.
Okay, so if Paramount wants to bring back these characters in some new way in a computer-generated form and use them for something that they consider a sanctioned Paramount production, fine, as long as what they're not doing is basically trying to bring back William Shatner or bring back Leonard Nimoy. They're bringing back these characters that they own, and I think that there is a difference.
Stan. Looks like they could do new TOS episodes. It does indeed look like that. I will say that.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to get into the should they, would they, whatever. But at the same
Right.
time, I think the one thing I'm getting from all of these Roddenberry Archive project pieces is that they're trying to show that there still is that universe we love as Star Trek exists. Not that the current stuff isn't. I'm not going to get entertained or get into that argument. But I just mean that to be able to say that, hey, if you really wanted to do something and these icons and their estates are okay continuing the legacy of these wonderful people, which if there was ever going to be a group who would do that, I don't know why I feel in my heart it would be the Star Trek group. It would be the Nimoy estate, the Doohan estate, the eventually everybody who eventually is like, you know what, we want our people to live still in perpetuity in storytelling. If it's respectful, if it's we can blah blah blah, whatever.
And this was obviously respectful.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Right.
I don't think this was. I don't think it was disrespectful in the least. I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. There are people on the line who want to play and be like, it looks so deep fake. No, it didn't. Okay, I'm sorry. If you look at deep fake side by side, it didn't. Now, there were cool storytelling beats that I thought. I agree. Darren Wagner says it seems reductive to call this a deep fake. These are actors wearing CGI enhanced prosthetics. I absolutely. So there, I was going to get into that.
You know what? That's just big budget deep fake. I'm sorry.
Okay, fine.
It's the same thing. It's just that you're basically making it easier for the computer to do it because you have people wearing the prosthetics.
When it was done, I looked at Mrs. Know-It-All and I said, there should be people who look to making this another form of an actual look of another type of entertainment, another type of acting. Because I'm sorry, Sam Witwer channeled William Shatner's movements from that era. When he does that turn move real quick, we've seen Kirk do that move forever, and it's like you want to sit here and go, that is skill as an actor.
Oh, sure. And I actually really like. Now, my personal favorite was the shot you have right on the screen now. I love seeing classic Kirk standing there.
Dude, that's the turn though, right there.
Yeah,
he's looking around, and then
and that look right there when he saw himself. That is absolutely some great William Shatner. That being said, my big problem with this whole thing is not the technology behind bringing the characters back.
Right.
It's the lack of cohesive storytelling. They brought in the big feel moment at the end, which obviously, unless you know nothing about Star Trek, that final thing with Kirk and Spock needs no dialogue, needs nothing. It's a beautiful moment, right?
I love you, Penny. Eyeliner pops.
Hey, but you know what? William Shatner's always brought the eyeliner, man.
They did a good job.
Although he used extra eyeliner when he was evil Captain Kirk. True story. But my problem here is that you don't know. For example, just if you all you have to go with is this short film. Right? Because that's what 99.9% of the audience, that's all they're going to see.
Absolutely.
Right.
And are saying things like, this is what Star Trek's supposed to feel like. I'm like, nobody uttered a word, bro. Nobody uttered a word. Right. What are you talking about? There's really good mimed Kirk's movements.
Right. So if all you've seen is this short film, let me ask you a couple of questions.
And by the way, I love it.
Right.
But I'm like, let's be reasonable. Okay.
Yeah. Why is Gary Mitchell there? Why is there a quick shot of a mind meld between Spock and the yeoman from the cage? Why is it that we see a quick shot of Kirk's remains in the super secret Starfleet archive from Picard season 3? How does Kirk end up in this situation in the first place? Is he dead? Is he resurrected? Is he an angel from heaven coming to meet Spock? Wait a minute. Is Spock in the Kelvin timeline or the Prime timeline? And why is Savick there? Who's the Vulcan dude with Savick?
That's Savick's son.
No, do they ever say that?
So if you watch the Savick video,
it doesn't matter. I'm saying just based on this, you have to take it as it is presented.
Yeah, well, Darren says, when I first saw this, I thought Kirk was in the afterlife and people were communicating telepathically. The planet he was on reminded me of Apollos' planet. That's
Sure.
that's a firm, really
That's
good.
actually not a bad take, Darren,
No,
but it's
I think it's
completely wrong.
Wow.
No. I'm not saying he's wrong just because of my opinion. I'm saying he's wrong based on the script that you sent me.
Right. Oh my God. I love that. Well, yeah.
So, because you and I have the advantage, we know what was intended here.
Correct.
But and so what?
He's right. No, he's
Darren,
right.
Darren, what you said, that was my first thought, was that it's Kirk in the afterlife, because this does seem to, based on the visual evidence alone, this does seem to take place after generations. For one thing, we see the crash remains of the Enterprise D, and we also see that Kirk does not have his insignia on,
Right.
and he's given it by the weird, creepy alien dude.
Who, by the way, is from Discovery.
Yes, he's from Discovery, and he's important but and so is Lieutenant Colt. But there's no explanation to why they're important. Gary Mitchell is important, but we see Gary literally in one shot just floating in what looks like the Nexus. We have no idea what's going on. However, it's beautifully done. And that last shot is what it's all about. It's all about Kirk. I mean, it's even called unification. Yes, Lieutenant Colt Thomas is the yeoman from the cage. And she is in this, but only a couple of quick shots. And
guys, real quick, he's absolutely correct. By the way, there's actually a working script from this thing that came out. It was dropped online, and it shows a lot, if not almost all, the elements, but they're clearly and have been edited in different order to what we were originally. And then some of them are just not there at all from the script piece that we saw, and that's where he's coming from. And I get that.
So let me explain to you guys. So since it sounds like all of you guys have seen it, so I will tell you what the story actually is in a nutshell. Lieutenant Colt saw an Iconian gateway. Ever since then, she's been troubled by visions of alternate timelines, including what we refer to as the Kelvin timeline. She knows that Spock is going to end up there. Gary Mitchell, from another timeline, by the way, is also observing all this, and he gets in contact with Colt, who goes to the Starfleet archive, and I don't know if they explain how she got to the Starfleet archive in the future, because she would be long dead by the 25th century, but whatever. She gets to the Starfleet archive, retrieves Kirk's remains. Gary then uses his godlike power to reincarnate Kirk or resurrect, I should say, Kirk. And then the alien from Discovery helps transport Kirk to the Kelvin timeline so that he could be reunited with Spock before he dies. That's the basic story. However, none of that is on screen. We see quick flashes of this person and that person and this person, and then we get the cool shot of Kirk. It looked like 2001: A Space Odyssey, with Kirk seeing himself at different ages, and then he ends up with Spock at the end in a beautiful shot.
So the guy behind Savick is Savick's son she had with Spock.
Yes. Which is not canonical, but that's from the books, I believe.
Yes. Hold on, or as Stanley says, he's Star Trek Jesus.
Yes, he said that. He said that on my earlier stream.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
So did I get the good feels from that last shot? Absolutely. It definitely, if you're a Star Trek fan, that thing's got to leave you with a smile on your face.
Hey, real quick. So I think real quick, before we go deeper, I want to give you guys a pair of some really objective eyes.
Are you going to go balls deeper?
No, yes. Which, not connected to that statement whatsoever, you dirtbag. My wife sent this text message. Look, all I knew is that Kirk was going through his life and wanted to be with Spock when he died. I don't need to know anything else because that's what I got out of it. This is somebody who doesn't follow Star Trek as tightly as we do. Somebody who's only really gotten perfunctorily an understanding but appreciates all of it. Who's big into like a lot of current things and whatnot. So at the end of the day, I feel like that's a really good, clean pair of eyes who don't have our bias going, this is what I got out of it.
Well, and that's what, it brings the feels. It absolutely.
I feel like that's what this edit job was about.
Right.
not telling the story that we saw in the script. This was about personifying and really putting forward the Kirk character right now for this Generations anniversary thing,
Right.
which I feel like the
They
deeper
just didn't
story
have
was
time to do the whole
sacrificed.
thing. That's my thing. I think they just ran out of time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
By the way, Darren, so let me explain. Is it an official Paramount production? No, it is not. It is a licensed production, but it's a production by a YouTube channel, not by Paramount directly. So
But
Paramount.
it's a studio, OTOY Studios, who's specializing in. They're really doing cutting edge stuff with like deepfake and digital prosthesis and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they've partnered with Roddenberry Archive. Which, I mean, I'm sorry, no matter who you are, you partner with Roddenberry Archive, you got a little more weight when you go to that meeting with Paramount.
But it's not Paramount. It's
Agreed.
The YouTube channel and Roddenberry Archives actually produced this. Paramount just gave their blessing. They said, "Go ahead." So it's not it's not a canonical Paramount thing, unless what they could do if they put it on Paramount Plus, then you can make that argument.
They haven't said it's not canonical, though.
Yeah, well, they haven't said that what we say is not canonical either.
But we're not close to the production like these are. I'm just saying.
And Thomas, it's the anniversary of Generations that they're trying.
The wonderful TNG version of a TMP movie.
Yeah.
Where they were just like, we're going to forget everything we've learned for 7 years and go off the rails.
Yeah.
Like,
yes, that's what I said. It's licensed. Licensed does not mean Paramount produced it. You have to understand what that, from a legal perspective, licensing just means they paid to use it.
Right.
That's all that means. They paid for the rights to do it.
Schman, according to Creep.
Yeah. But so is this canon? Officially, I don't think there's been any kind of statement or word on it. We'll see in the long term. But does it really matter? Does it make any difference if it is or isn't? Not really. It doesn't change anything that we're currently seeing coming out of Trek. Because Spock's death, that we had documented in the third JJ Star Trek film.
Yeah.
And this just kind of shows you, okay, that's what it looked like when he died. As far as Kirk, everything that happens in this is after Generations, and so Kirk's story is unchanged by it.
Agreed.
And same thing with Savick. We haven't seen Savick since Star Trek 4. So,
well, especially not this Savick.
Right. Well, I'm just saying but Savick has not been around. Spock's son has not appeared in any canonical work. So none of this directly impacts current canon. And so, could you say it's canon? Sure. But unless, keep in mind that what is and isn't canon is ultimately up to Paramount, not up to us. And so
Paramount says ancillary work like Star Trek fan films exist outside the official canon or exist in their own continuities, but occasionally Star Trek TV shows and movies can incorporate ancillary projects into canon.
They absolutely can. And that's completely at the whim of Paramount. Paramount can do whatever the heck if Paramount wanted to make.
Well, I beg to differ. Darren seems to think that that's not the case.
Huh? Salty, that's just because Paramount didn't consult me first? Yeah, that's what it is. Anyway.
I'm sorry. I'll stop doing that.
I'm not pissed. You got to. But here's my thing.
What started it for me was the fact that all I wanted you to do is be like, oh my God, that looks awesome. But instead, I got this third degree of, is it licensable? Did they get permission? Who did they do this illegally? Oh my God.
You know what? Because I didn't know it was just some YouTube channel. I didn't realize it was a licensed project and all that until after the fact, which is fine. Again, I'm okay with it. And it does bring the feels, but at the same time, there's no.
Why do you sound like somebody who's just saw their ex-girlfriend with a new guy? You're like, look, yeah, I'm okay with it. Whatever.
Well, I'm just saying there's no story here. That's my problem. Is that it's a nice looking demo reel of what could have been. And like even before we knew any of the script stuff, you and I were just shooting the breeze, and I told you how I would redo it, and you thought that was a better story than what they did.
It was a good story.
Yeah. So especially going with the unification theme, my idea was because it did seem like Kirk was somehow like in the afterlife or, crossing over or something like that. And since we saw 3 Kirks, I thought we should have seen 3 destinations. And so TOS Kirk would have ended up with Gary Mitchell. Remember, Gary was Kirk's best friend before Spock was.
Right.
And so the two of them could have a moment where they basically, forgive each other for what happened, they embrace or whatever, and that's their closing moment. And then you have middle-aged Kirk from Star Trek II. He goes through the tunnel, and he meets up with either David or Carol Marcus. And basically has a sweet moment with them. And then old Kirk goes through through the tunnel, and we get exactly what we got with Spock. And so I think that would have been cool to kind of show the different phases of Kirk's life, basically tying up loose ends.
Sure. Which I think they kind of tried to do, but it was very figurative. I feel like this version of the story left a lot for interpretation, and maybe that's a good thing.
Well, I think it left a little too much, though. Like, for example, why was Saavik there, and what was she about to say but didn't?
Yes, it's Spock's son.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, that's me and Spock's kid. And then what? Wouldn't Kirk want to say something to his kid? And it's not like they couldn't have put dialogue in here. I could understand if you didn't want to touch the sacred cow and do an AI of Leonard Nimoy's voice. I'm fine with that because that last scene needed no dialogue.
No, I agree. Even though it was total, like they were like, you could get him to say, he's a man of few words. You give him to say one thing, even if it's just fascinating. I don't care, man. Give him to say something. But then they didn't, and I was like, you know what? It was better for it. It was better for the finals. Especially because everybody was acting their asses off with just their faces.
Oh, sure. But I would have liked to, like, Kirk could have talked to Saavik for a moment. That would have been nice. And since the actor that plays Gary Mitchell is still alive, Kirk could have had an interaction with him. That would have been nice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I looked up. He was born in 1937, and he is still alive.
Nice, bro.
But I get it, Danny. That look, and you are an emotion driven guy, so of course anything that has this is raw emotion. But the problem is,
I liked it too.
Yeah, but whatever. I'm more analytical than you are. And no, I'm not saying that as a positive or a negative. My EQ isn't as high as yours, and of course, nobody human has an EQ as high as Danny's. But but my point is just that so when I look at it, I tend to analyze things. That's what I do. And when I analyze it, I'm like, well, what was this about? What was the story here? I don't get it. Okay, fine. Kirk is with Spock. How did he get there? Why is he there? What's the point? And is it just that, hey, this would be cool to see?
I feel like for me, and I'm not even talking about what it's about, I stop and I look at, I want to look at the contrast, right? This isn't me segueing into anything. I sit here and I go, I found myself thinking more and more, why doesn't current modern Trek, while I do enjoy it, why doesn't it evoke this? Why did this so perfectly, why did this play me so well?
Because I think the people behind this had a true and passionate love for the material.
Right.
That shows through absolutely, despite the fact that the story was almost non-existent. You could tell that the people that made this absolutely loved Trek.
Well, it's funny, and even though I do agree with you that I felt maybe the story was quote unquote non-existent and proper, because I think I can infer a lot.
You can infer, well, but I think most people probably infer what Darren said.
I do feel like there was a story. Like you found yourself wondering, well, who is this guy? What is this? If anything else, there were pieces that made you go, there's something being talked about here. Like,
Right.
because I was with you. What was that look that Savick gave? Why did the kid, the Vulcan guy, look like he was going to burst into tears? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, what was it about? You know?
And no, Thomas, I don't think Mr. Know-It-All cried every time they all hugged on Star Trek Discovery.
Every time. No, I'm kidding.
Now, Danny did.
Hang on. Let me find that footage of Spock and Kirk saying goodbye in Star Trek 2. I think I've got that here somewhere.
Yeah, you put that on for him.
No, but this was good. No, this for me hit. I don't know. Honestly, for me, I'm going to tell you straight up what it was for me. Forget all the other nonsense.
Sure.
They have done such a disservice to the character of Kirk and to William Shatner as an actor. In terms of the way Paramount's pulled that character from media, the way all this other, like, just everywhere. But and the hit. Yes, we get it. He was a jerk and a horrible person on set. Whatever else, he's long since said he wanted to make up for those things and tried to make different choices and whatever else. And I believe him genuinely to hear him talk in the story that he loved his time there, and I think he did. And I feel like I think on some level this was his opportunity for not to get back, but to be like, thanks for letting me come out and play one more time, guys. That's all I really wanted. That's what I got from it. And I'm not even talking. You're right. I'm not even talking about the story. I felt so satisfied seeing Captain Kirk honored like this, and it did my heart good.
And I think that's where, like, for me, why I see it as, okay, yes, it was very emotional, it was wonderful, it was beautiful, but it also, man, it could have been so much more if they had a story there. For
hate you so much.
First of all, that's such a load of crap, Darren, because it's not like Mr. Know-It-All's disputing the facts that I'm saying. Because I'm not being unfactual, if that's a word. I'm simply saying that, yes, it's emotional, but that's all that it is. And I think that there's a place for that, but it's not a complete story. It feels to me like this is a proof of concept. That this is something that it's like, hey,
I've read the book. So in his interview, he talks about a book where he outlined how Kirk could be brought back.
Right.
I loved that book. The return was to me as a young, especially because I remember I got into Star Trek young. So like seeing these characters, I'm like, oh my God, he's gone already. And then now the book was amazing, and it's worth the read. I don't care if anybody likes it or not. It's worth reading.
Well, and I haven't read it, but I remember when that came out, and there was a little bit of controversy over that. Because, people
I thought it was
sure, William Shatner wants to bring Kirk back. But I also, like many of you, I have been so angry at the powers that be at CBS mostly, because Paramount just merged very recently, which is interesting that Paramount merges and then this comes out.
Yeah, no,
because I think that Paramount has less animosity for William Shatner than CBS did.
I'll agree with that. Absolutely.
And so it really kind of pissed me off that CBS, I mean, they removed Kirk from all the promotional material for Star Trek Day every year, even though they would have like Spock and Uhura up there. Oh no, we're gonna leave Kirk off. But hey, we'll put Michael Burnham front and center, even though her show doesn't even exist anymore.
Real fast, Stanley asks, is Scotty still around in Star Trek Picard time? In general, or I don't know specifically Picard time, but I know that he's mentioned in The Return. They have a scene and Leonard Nimoy's there standing over the grave of Kirk, and then yeah,
but that's not a canonical piece.
No, but I'm saying it's canonical until they tell me it's not. Meaning, until you give me something that conflicts. The last sign I had of Scotty in that time period was that book. That's the
when it's right.
Never really addressed him again.
The last thing we know was relics, and which of course Scotty was retired and was on his way to the old folks' home when his ship crashed. And but then he was stuck in the transporters for 80 whatever years, and the Enterprise D picked him up. And so he was old, but it's not beyond the realm of possibility that he could still be alive. However, we don't know because they never really said. There was never any official, "Oh, Scotty's dead."
Right.
In fact, the only character of the original cast that I think we got an official he's dead was Kirk, or not Kirk, but Spock. Kirk too, actually, but so Kirk and Spock are the only ones that have actually died, because Spock died in Star Trek Beyond, and Kirk died in Generations. But other than that, the rest of the crew, it's not really known how they die.
It's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you don't really get much, but you know, because obviously, you know, Chekhov has a kid that later on becomes president, so
Yeah.
it's
Which,
great grandkid or something.
and happens to sound exactly like him.
You know, it happens. It's a thing.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I really wish they had the time or the budget or whatever it was that prevented them from making that script into reality.
Well, I appreciated what we got. Now, I would love to pursue seeing more. I know
It
that
was so nice.
I had seen the one with Spock. I had not. I guess there's two other ones.
Right.
that I
I've
need
seen
to
the
look
Spock
at.
one before, but I have to say the nicest thing, and I know you kind of iterated this already, but the nicest thing of the whole thing was to have anything Star Trek with William Shatner front and center.
Agreed.
Uh,
Yeah,
that's
hands down.
yeah, and so that was nice because William Shatner has been maligned by CBS for so long, and I truly appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the fact that CBS is not going to have an opportunity to kick him around anymore. I would love to see him involved in more stuff. I'm not saying as an actor per se. Maybe even doing if he wants to do voice acting, whatever, or more of this kind of stuff. If he's serious, like head the charge up, man. Get
At the
like
same time,
seriously.
he's 93 and he knows it,
Yeah,
and so I think
he
that
looks amazing.
he does.
I'm shocked.
I would not be surprised if he breaks 100. But at the same time, and this is the sad reality of it, I also would not be surprised if he died tomorrow. And I'm not trying to be mean. It's just,
No, and you're like, this is why he did all this.
Yeah,
he
you
knew
know.
he was going out.
Yeah.
It'd be rough.
So, but
It'd be so rough. That would be so tragic in the extreme.
well, I will say this. Hey, what better way to go out than to have your character triumphantly return just before you go? That would be kind of cool. The only thing that would have made it better would be an NX-01 reference. Why? and then
Creep says, I seen a short where Spock is standing over Kirk's burial site. Yeah,
that's what we're
that's what I
talking
meant.
about. Made by the same people. Yeah.
Same people, and that's
I
actually
think it's the same actor playing Spock.
yes.
Because and that's key. I mean, they did a good job with the casting, because even though yes, the faces are deep fake prosthesis, whatever you want to call it, and because come on, digitally enhanced prosthesis is just deep fake with more words.
With more steps.
Yeah, but and it was well done mostly. There's a couple of shots where it's like, wait, that's not William Shatner. I think one of the shots where they show him from the side, and I was like, his profile looks wrong. But I get it. That happens with deepfake tech, but it was really, really cool to see.
I love the performances. Everybody who was doing it moved in a way that I thought was very cool.
Yeah,
I really did. I thought that everybody was moving and really being, and in a world in which we get this, and we get the likes of the Luke Skywalker we got in Ahsoka and some other stuff. Like I sit here in terms of what they can do. I'm like, why don't we get more, like? I'm sorry, figure it out with everybody, and let's do a thing. Like, give us a story, a good, solid story with the original crew cast as whatever. And doesn't even have to be old stuff or new stuff. Make up some story from the Lost period or something. You know what I mean? Just that would be amazing, and probably would just like rock the world. Like it would explode. I guarantee you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If somebody, imagine. And hopefully Thomas is left because he's going to get really mad in a second. But imagine if they did something like a triple timeline story. And
real quick, Creep, they're doing Star Trek Chakotay. It's called Prodigy right now.
Anyway, but imagine, so you're doing a multiple timeline story where Pike's
maybe a triple timeline story.
Yes, where say Pike's Enterprise is caught in some subspace anomaly whatchabadoodle, and then they end up face to face with the classic Connie from the original series, and they hail them, and on screen is classic Kirk, right? And so
so dumb.
and so Strange New Worlds Kirk could be sitting there with Pike looking at the view screen going, that's not me, you know? And then you immediately can start getting an explanation to everything. Because keep in mind that while sure, maybe, Kirk's parents had a son on that same day, but because the timeline is slightly different.
I mean, it's at least 4 or 5, Creep. At least 4 or 5.
How many triple timelines are there? Yeah. But think about it. Like, if you look at like the Kelvin verse, right, with Chris Pine's Kirk.
Yes.
So because the Narada went back in time, changed history, all it takes is for one of Kirk's parents to have even the slightest change in their day,
Which is what happened.
and Kirk comes out differently. You know, different sperm fertilizes the egg or whatever, and you know he's because he was raised.
Yeah. We get the biology of it all.
Yeah. But so and that can easily explain a lot of stuff in the various timelines where you can have different looking Kirks, you know. And you must have missed Prodigy saying Enterprise is the prime timeline. I don't think he said that, actually. I think he said we're in the prime timeline. I don't think he said, oh, yeah, and this is the Enterprise timeline from the classic show Enterprise, you know, that Riker likes to watch on the holodeck.
That's probably exactly the one it is.
You know, so, but anyway, I'm just, and Darren, you know, I know you like being a dick and all, but I'm just trying to say that there are scenarios where you could use this tech to create a guest
For the betterment of mankind.
yeah,
Something.
but in an actual Paramount production.
Although I feel like on some level, he feels like he's doing a service to mankind, busting your chops. Because the man does it with an unholy glee.
Oh, he does. He you know,
when I tell you all the first week after I met the man online, I suddenly get in my DMs all these salt monster pictures.
The dirty laundry, yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
It was the greatest. Because again, I know you have lore. I didn't realize it went this deep, bro.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because in all my life, I've never had a personal demon until Darren. You know, and I don't know what to say. I mean, it's like, you know how you got like the little angel demon on your shoulders imagery.
Yeah.
If I look at the demon shoulder, it's Darren. You know, it's just Darren sitting there.
Awesome.
You know, and yeah, that's right.
I appreciate it, especially with. I will say this: he and I have bonded over something because he immediately sent me he's like, "Did you see this video about the OTOY thing?" I was like, "Yes." To be fair, and this is no way, shape, or form a dig, he did give me the response I was looking for out the gate. And I was happy to have a moment. Don't get me wrong. I love and this is what I come here for every week.
Right.
But having, sometimes you just want to geek out, just be like, oh my God. Like literally we're all a bunch of kids shouting, going, "Guy was Captain Kirk." It just
you know, and that's the thing. That's fine. If you want to throw your underwear at William Shatner, you go right ahead. You know? And I'm sure that, you know, he'll kind of freak out, but you know, and then he'll appreciate it.
I'm like William Shatner.
Yeah. By the way, that actually was his underwear.
Right, blue.
Yeah. So, but yeah, good thing he didn't whip out the thong.
Wow. No, like Mike Tyson the other night.
Yeah.
When the camera didn't turn away. Like, what's going on? Sorry.
So no, but again, emotionally, they a 10 out of 10. Yeah. Story wise, it's like a 1 out of 10. You know, that's the problem. And for me, well, you know, if I'm going to criticize Discovery for having crappy stories, I got to be fair. I got to be consistent. And this did not have a good story.
I don't know that but again, I don't know that I care. And
I know you don't, but that's
this. No. But I mean, it's for me. This didn't feel like it. I didn't not get it. That's my thing. Is I feel like I don't know what you wanted, unless it's got Star Trek slapped on the side of it or whatever. Officially, I don't know that you would have accepted anything, because at the end of the day, this is. But there was nothing about this that required. It didn't ask much of us, but you seem to want to pay a much greater price.
I just want a good story.
Right on.
That's all. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that, and I certainly didn't say it sucked. It does absolutely deliver on what they're trying to do, which is to give everybody the warm fuzzies. But to me, it's kind of like my problem with Star Trek Picard season 3. Star Trek Picard season 3 felt very vacuous to me outside of the plethora of member berries. Now, did some of those member berries absolutely strike home? Absolutely. But that's not a story. That's it's a setting, it's a character, it's a thing that you like seeing, but now give me a story for those things to be a part of. And I love seeing Kirk in the flesh, especially TOS Kirk. But man, I would have loved it so much more if I knew why he was there.
I agree. No, I got you. Yeah. All right, and I respect that. I do respect it. I do respect the opinion. I don't necessarily agree with it, but hey, we're not called nerd, buddy. We're called Nerd Fights, so I get it. I guess my answer should be no. You're wrong and you're stupid and you look goofy. I don't know. Whatever.
Well, that would probably be Nerdotic's response, but
that's awesome.
I wonder what he thought of it. I don't know if he did a review on it.
He said he got his social post on X was, I don't have no. It was I saw the video. Now I got something in my eye.
What?
He got something in his eye, like
like he teared up.
Yeah. There's something in my eye. That's all.
Wow. So he actually didn't like complain. I was expecting him to complain because Savick was in it.
That's hilarious.
And he could have said something like, "Oh, of course, the only classic character that they didn't use deepfake technology on was a woman."
She wanted to look. She's Vulcan. She wanted to look ancient.
All the men are just
still alive.
Yeah, but you see, it's showing all the men are just NPCs. They're just computer generated, non-existent people. But the woman is real.
Sure, actually.
So,
oh my gosh, my question is Darren, if we're going to the trouble to do Kirk, why didn't we just get Kirstie Alley?
Well, maybe they couldn't get permission.
Oh, that's so sad.
I would have preferred to see Kirstie Alley as well. I mean, you're right about that, Darren. I would have preferred to see Kirstie Alley.
However, in the context, I kind of would have too.
Yeah.
I love who we got. It's fine. I love it.
Yeah, but I'm like, no complaints about it being
bringing people back from the dead.
Yeah,
why don't we at least give Kirstie a spin?
However, here's the thing about that I would, I thought about it as far as I would have preferred to see classic Savick from Star Trek 2.
Right.
However, then my immediate other brain was arguing with me, because I'm kind of schizophrenic. Was that wait a minute. Robin Curtis is still alive.
Yeah, totally.
And so it would kind of be a disrespect to her to say, we're going to pass you over for the dead girl.
Wow.
And so
I hadn't even thought of it like in that context. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I'm okay with them going with Robin Curtis because she is still alive. So to me, that gives her priority over Kirstie Alley as much as I would have rather seen Kirstie Alley on a personal level.
She has,
so that is technically true. But I think that unfortunately Robin Curtis's Savick just never sat right with me. But and keep in mind, did she really play Savick more? Did she really? Because if you can wait, and this would be actually something interesting to compare. It might be worth doing. How much screen time did Kirstie Alley get in Star Trek 2 compared to what Robin Curtis got in 3 and 4? Because in 4 she was only in like 2 scenes in the whole movie, right at the beginning and right at the end.
I think he's going. Yeah, Technically true, Darren says 2 is more than 1, and he goes adult. And the thing is, I think Darren, though we're quick to try to kick really hard, I think what he's talking about is the fact that so much total screen time in minutes, like actual time on screen.
Right.
She doesn't matter if she's in 2 movies. If she's in 20 minutes across both of them, and Kirstie Alley's in like 24, well, then she wins.
Yeah, and the thing, and Curtis's, because Curtis's role in Star Trek 4 was really a glorified cameo.
True. Very true.
And so, because she was just there to basically say goodbye to everybody as they left Vulcan.
Which is so sad.
Yeah.
You're like, really? You're going to flight attendant me? That's how we're doing this?
Yeah. I mean, they could have brought her on the Bird of Prey.
Thank you for flying Air Vulcan. Thank you for flying Air Vulcan. Live long and prosper. Thank you for flying Air Vulcan. As everyone's walking by.
Yeah, in fact, since she was the only member of the crew.
Dirty, bro.
Yeah. She was the only member of the crew that was not technically a fugitive. And so it might have been a good idea to bring her so that she could like communicate with Starfleet Command and say she's bringing them in.
Oh my God, Darren's awesome. Now you're going by screen time. Way to move the goalposts.
I didn't, but dude.
I just love him. Oh my God, I love him. He's such a character.
Can't win with Darren. Just can't.
Okay, he's hilarious though.
Yeah. This is why Darren should be our third person on the show, just as a color commentator reacting to everything I say.
So
Which would just be like, somebody shut him up. That's all Darren.
Yeah. We're like, you could be filling this spot right here.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, and this is absolutely true, I don't know if Darren remembers this, I offered him a spot as a co-host on the show if he would commit to it, but he wouldn't commit to it. So,
But he can commit to busting your balls.
Yeah, busting your balls.
I love it. I love it so much. Sidebar, did you see that video that's circulating? If you haven't, I'll send it to you. It's Colin Farrell saying thank you to the crew, but he, in his normal voice, still dressed up as the penguin.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Irishy, you're like, oh God, no, stop.
So it really is Colin Farrell.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's funny because there's just a couple of moments in that show where my wife was like, okay, I see Colin Farrell's eyes now, just for a second.
Same. Oh yeah, I've had moments like that where you're just like, there he is.
Yeah.
Looking like the DiCaprio meme.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
And so, but here's the problem, Stan. Darren doesn't fact check. He just says, "Oh, I don't listen to facts." He doesn't say what facts I didn't listen to because there aren't any. He's not fact checking. He's fact.
I think it's the fact that we all enjoyed it and the nostalgia worked. I think that's a fact. Now, what's not a fact is that you don't like that.
I didn't say I didn't like it.
All right, I'm sorry.
Don't put words in my mouth. I said it was good, and I said that did it bring the feels, and I said absolutely. But I think that it was missing a good story, and I think it would be unfair to not bring up that point.
I hear you. No, I understand.
Because I try to be as consistent as I can with when I review stuff.
I understand, sir.
You just want Darren to keep saying
I think it's so funny because I never get to see you on your heel until when he shows up, and I'm like, this is amazing. Normally you're the one that's super
Darren is kind of quick wit. I gotta he's very good at that. Darren is like the perfect troll.
I don't think, Stanley, I think you're talking about this. No, I think it did just come out of nowhere. It was the anniversary of of Generations, and the next thing you know, this video's on my feed.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, I know. I've seen it pop up in a few news feeds now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't come with a bunch of fanfare on Paramount Plus or something. So yeah, Darren. I think I'm not sure, but I think what he's talking about is I confused at one point Deadpool and Daredevil.
Oh, copy.
I might have said Deadpool.
Probably during She-Hulk. I bet you money during She-Hulk. I bet you during the part where they were.
I said Deadpool when I meant Daredevil.
I no doubt.
Yeah. And so yeah, you have the receipts. whatever.
Whatever, man. According to everybody else, according to last week or the week before's video, I'm a racist. So whatever.
Yeah, well, you kind of are.
I would literally say run back the tape, and I know Creep will.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so, just looking real quick,
Yeah.
you know, I went to StarTrek.com and
Okay, hold on. Let's go on.
and they have Trek history generations listed here. But I don't see anything for this project on the front page of StarTrek.com.
No, I don't either.
And honestly, I think that's a shame. Even though I get it's not an official Paramount production, I think it deserves a little attention from them.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
Let's talk Marvel for a second here.
Sure.
Stanley brought up a really good point. He said, any thoughts on She-Hulk getting replaced with Daredevil on the official Marvel banner? It was literally a momentary moment of drama, and the world that I think made it much deeper and bigger than it was. I think at the end of the day, they were like, why is Daredevil not on the thing? Put him on the artwork. Who do you want to get rid of? I don't know. Whose show hasn't been on in a while? Pick somebody.
Right.
Like, I don't. Everybody wants there to be a concerted. We're going to eliminate the Green Girl. Like no, there was no dark.
Well, interesting. You know, Hulk's not on there either. So
right. I mean, but there's no like Star Chamber. This isn't like some racist anti-green people thing.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
we're not like down with greenies or whatever. It's just
like, well, looking at, you have the banner up as a background right now.
Yes.
And on that banner, how many characters on that banner have officially been canceled? One.
Yeah.
And that character is She-Hulk.
And what show is about to start up soon?
Yeah,
with a vengeance, rebirthing and continuing the Netflix, street level universe. Oh, that's right, Daredevil.
And so it's logical. You know, it's kind of funny that both are attorneys.
True story.
But and honestly, we've talked about how they could have done She-Hulk better, which my thought was to make it primarily a courtroom drama and to have her going up against Matt Murdock in court. And then,
that was brilliant. I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah. And it was the Titania case where Murdoch was Titania's defense attorney. But then at the end, Daredevil or She-Hulk and Matt Murdock or I should say Jennifer Walters and Matt Murdock.
Assume nothing.
Yeah, uncover the the nefarious plot by Titania, and so then She-Hulk and Daredevil go after her.
Hey Thomas, the answer is yes. That's all. Continue.
Yeah. But I think that would have been a better scenario for the She-Hulk show. But all that being said, I mean, because the She-Hulk show really had some serious problems.
Why does the She-Hulk show sound like an 80s show that we want to watch?
She-Hulk show.
That's it. Starring Jennifer Walters.
And Michael J. Fox.
That's right. Oh my God, that's awesome.
So I think that because of the problems in the show,
yeah,
it's unfortunate, but I understand why it got canceled.
I do too, but like everybody wants to make it out like it was this insidious thing, and I'm like, no, dude, it's a business decision. They don't want
right. It's just like the whole thing with the fact that she was going to be in the Deadpool movie and then was cut, and people making a big deal out of that.
There's no truth to that,
right? But that's the thing. People want that drama to be there.
Yeah, it's true.
Now, granted, if She-Hulk was a successful show, it would have been a no-brainer to put her in the Deadpool movie.
I agree with that. Because
Deadpool could be talking to the audience, and then She-Hulk could talk to us too, and say, "This guy doesn't know what he's talking about." Listen, and then Deadpool would be like, "Wait a minute, you see them too?" That could be a funny moment. But since She-Hulk kind of took a big dump in the middle of the room and then let it fester. It was just not a good thing. Oh, and looks like Planet X is giving the wrong person some money.
Not wrong at all. Planet X, what's up, brother? Good to see you, sir. We appreciate you always.
Got to work on
We're I'm doing our best, I promise.
that. Yeah.
As soon as I get the archives up, because the archives actually got a couple of hits, but like I was shocked by. So yeah, we'll get. I'm gonna work on getting those up.
Yeah.
Because everyone's going through memory lane on those.
But yeah, so I am I'm cautiously optimistic about the future of the MCU, but yeah, the She-Hulk thing I think is much ado about nothing. I think the show was canceled because it was not popular,
No,
and I mean because
we
ultimately,
talked about over the weekend when we finished our rankings of the streaming shows.
right?
So if you want to catch what our thoughts on She-Hulk, his abbreviated, because I know those of you have already been through it once, because I still have to go through all his old ones. But me, you've never heard my thoughts on it. So go listen to us talk about it, because it's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah. But and with the horse chick. You go,
Megan the Stallion.
I get it. But
You got it now?
I
It
mean,
wasn't like horse chick, like.
yeah.
It was
I
okay.
mean, I'm not gonna lie. I did not mind seeing Megan the Stallion twerking on screen.
On
So,
anything.
I'm just saying that didn't
Right.
that scene did not bother me at all. In fact, it was probably one of the highlights of the show for me. So
Not me. You know why? Because the CGI on her suit was ridiculously bad.
that's true.
It was so bad. I'm just like, what is happening?
I don't. You know what? You're right. It is kind of stupid that she calls herself a stallion, since a stallion is a dude. But hey, Hollywood, not
She
known for.
identifies as a stallion.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm still trying to. You guys haven't seen Red One yet, have you?
Oh, jeez.
You got to see it, man. But in Red One, look, they have the reindeer, Santa's reindeer, look more like moose. I mean, they're huge. They're like 10 feet tall, and they have moose-like antlers as opposed to deer-like antlers. But multiple people in the movie refer to the reindeer as female. And so they're like, "Hey, ladies, how you doing?" when they're talking to the reindeer. Females don't have antlers. And so somebody failed, the biology 101 there when they were working on that.
No, right on. All right. Comment below. Let us know your thoughts on what do you what do you think of the MCU?
Maybe Megan the Stallion should have been one of the reindeer. That was
That's awesome.
uh,
Oh my god.
so if we're looking forward to Nosferatu, honestly, more than any other movie in the winter, I am really looking forward to Nosferatu. I like a good vampire movie, and we haven't had a good vampire movie in a long time.
I agree.
And so I would, I'm hoping that if it lives up to what the trailer looks like, it's going to be one of the best vampire movies ever.
Let's go.
So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Right on, man.
And then, of course, I'm looking forward to the 3 upcoming Marvel movies. So, I'm actually got things